14. V'animshal mikol now in chapter 14. Yuva v'pina zreishim shenisha b'chalal makom panoya now. Shahu yud desak sheb'tihiri lak moshem vor b'sefer emek hamelech, which is the yud of the sak. This Rishimu is the yud of the sak in Tehiri lak, like it explains in emek hamelech. And that's
what's
basically
the explanation for that exactly.
The explanation for that, basically, one of the things you should understand is, in general, like, you know, these parentheses are really footnotes.
Right.
They belong on the bottom of the page in a normal, the way we do books now, you know.
Right.
And these kind of footnotes are basically like the footnotes in the Rambam. When you know, it's not like a Rashi. It's just the opposite. You know, like a Rashi explains to you what it said, whereas a footnote in the Rambam, when you look down there, it makes it totally more difficult. It brings in a whole bunch of extra things and stuff like that. These basically are footnotes for the Kabbalists.
Right, but you explained it to me.
And this is for all kinds of people who, you know, this is like for like the very advanced people, and basically to understand the book, you really can totally skip this footnote.
Okay, but you did explain it.
Yeah, but the basic thing is this is the Dalit Shabbati, the big Dalit, it's Tvuna, it's Malchus of Tvuna, basically. The Yud of the last Yud of the Sag.
Okay.
You know, the last Yud, the Sag is with Yudin and Alfin.
Right.
If you add it up, you see there's 10 letters.
Right.
Which are basically the names are 4 letters, which is the 4 levels of Yah.
Right.
You know. And when you expand them, you have 10 letters.
Right.
So the Yud of the Sag is basically the Malchus of Tvuna.
That's the last.
And Ban only has 9 letters.
The last Hey.
Ban has 9 letters.
Huh?
Ban has 9 letters.
No, Sag has 10 letters. Ban has 9.
Ban has
9 letters. Sag has 10 letters.
Right, that's what I just said. Ban has 9.
Ban has 9. All the other ones have 10.
And you said the Yud of the Sag
is Malchus of Tvuna. Malchus of Tvuna.
Is Malchus of Tvuna, which is Nimshach to the Ban? Or something like that.
I mean, the basic thing is the Rishimu is Malchus of Tvuna. But Malchus of Tvuna is exactly what we said before, that it's the whole point that we said, that the Rishimu is that when the teacher thinks of himself of what he's going to teach, he has it all down to a point, and from this point will come out everything.
Right.
All the explanations. And it's Malchus of Tvuna.
Right.
And this is also the source of
and that's the Rosh
Hashanah, which is the source of the Shvira and the source of the Tikkun.
And that's the Roshim that's Nishar, is the Malchus of Tvuna.
And the basic thing, it says that it, you know, like what was it? It expands the whole thing into. In other words, the name Yud Kei Vav Kei is made up of 4 names. The Yud is Ab, the Hey is Ab Sag Ma'ban.
Right.
And what basically happens, it says that they fold over, and Ma goes into Ab, and Ban goes into Sag, but Ban only has 9 letters, and the
Yud from the Sag is
the Sag is left over. And why does Ban have only 9 letters? Because if you look later in terms of the Nesira, before the Nesira, there's only 9 Seros of Malchus.
And Malchus is Makabel from all the other Malchus.
Malchus of Malchus. In other words, the actual binyan is the binyan of Malchus of Malchus.
Which is Makabel from all the other Malchuses.
which is Makabel from all the other Malchuses. But really, the main place where it's a Makabel from is from
the Yud of Sag.
the Yud of Sag, which means from Malchus of Tuna. Which basically what it means is that the Oisius of Dibur received an Oisius of Machshava.
The mother lends the clothes to the daughter.
That Dibur has all 9 spheros, really. In the desire to speak, you basically have all the midos. The only thing you don't have is actual letters.
And that's the mother lends the clothes to the daughter.
The letters
the
come from Machshava. And the letters Machshava come from the Yud of the Sag, from Malchus of Tuna. Which the Pnimius of the Yud of the Sag is Malchus of Bina. Because the Yud of the Sag, how it is to itself, and the Yud of the Sag, how it's going to go down. Which that's the Malchus of Tuna, and that's the Indian of Dal Shabbasi. And in terms of the thing is like the Yechudei Lo and Yechud Tato, it says that HaShem Elokeinu Hashem Echad is the upper one, and then Baruch Shem is the lower one. That's in terms of like Atzilus and Bria. But this is a higher thing. This is a higher thing that this is Atzilus to Klolus.
Right.
And Ak is Bria to Klolus. So this is where the Malchus of Ein Sof receives from, actually, from Malchus of Tvuna. The letters of the Rishimu that go over from before to after, that's Bokeh through the Kav has to come from Tvuna. The letters of speech have to come from. Says the Malchus of Ein Sof is Bokeh through the Masach, right?
Right.
Not through the Masach, through the Tzimtzum.
Right.
Through the Rishimu. So, but where does it come from? And the letters of Malchus means the letters of speech, or the letters of writing. Which basically it says that the letters of the Rishimu are the letters that were written in the Aseres HaDibros on the Luchos. It's the actual letters of the Rishimu.
Right.
But they came from Malchus of Tuna. That's where the binyan of the Malchus of Malchus came from. But it really doesn't matter. The basic thing is, he says, Nimshal Mikolan now, he already explained to us better than this. With in the Kabbalistic, this is in the Kabbalistic manner. He already explained us the whole thing of what it's talking about, the Indian of the Reishim, which remains Nachal and Makam Panui. Shahu Prinas Yuli Kol Mashi Estorf Imeno Al Yedei Kabachut. That the Rishimu is a Yuli which includes anything which will branch out of it through the Kabachut. Begam Shinitalo Klaus or Atzmus Ashlan Nisha Rak Prinas Rishimu till there's nothing but Rishimu left. Im Kol Zev Ade Hakol Niklo Boy Bekitzer. This was all covered in going all the way back. He's recapping all the way back to chapter 12. Adjolan Sharak Prinas Rishimu Im Kol Zev Ade Hakol Niklo Boy Bekitzer. Al Zezia Tzimtzum Dafka canal, like was explained before. V'gam Mashu Meire Hedrit Pashtus, like what explained in the last chapter. This thing that the Rishimu is Meire Dafka Hedrit Pashtus Lamaza. Eino Pchinas Tzimtzum Gomor Rak Mitzachu Pchinas Koch HaYuli. Hulu canal. Rak Liyesa Keach Magbil Liklalus Ayar Rishain. Al Ken Biltimit Pashet Rak Derech Kav. That's why, since it's the Kerach HaMakbil, that's why the light in it, even when it is mitpashet, it's not mitpashet in an infinite way like it was before, but only in a mitzumtzum way derech kav. Lafi oifen ha'ashpah canal, according to the hashpah, which goes according to the Makabel. Amnam Yuva Nikol Manal the Kav Zeh Yesh Mekach Arishin Shalifnat Tzimtzum B'Chinas Ein Sof Mamish. In other words, that as far as the Kavamida, first of all, that the Rishimu itself has the entire Ein Sof in it, and really not only the Rishimu, but the thing of the expansion of the Kav can be expanded all the way back to the original light. Like if he's talking to somebody who's on his own level, mamish.
Right.
Then he can tell him exactly, like if the Rogachover is talking to another guy like that.
Right.
Not to like little students. And then it's mamish b'pchinas Ein Sof, even in the Kav.
Right.
The thing that the Kav, that he has a measurement according to the Makablim, it depends who the Makabel is.
Right.
If the Makabel is somebody like himself, he can expand it. Mamish, he has the whole Ein Sof in there. Rak Shabbat Derech Kav, if you're even a Makablim. The only the reason it comes because of Kav is because of the Makablim Dafka, not because of the Mashpia. That this explanation for the Makabel comes from the actual light of the Mashpia. Even though it's a secondary light, which is called the Ha'ara Nikra El Shel Tolda, but it really comes from the original light. Or Shel Tolda Sh'achar Tzimtzum, Or Shel Tolda Sh'achar Tzimtzum Bokeh Or Derech Kav Ba'alma. It only breaks through in a very metumtum way, just like a little line of light. Aval hu ba me'orcha atzmi. Liyeit shebershimu hare niklol hakol. Umimenu nimshach hakav b'bchinas yul klalus hashefa. Liya is b'bchinas malo matal kulponim. But it's the whole thing of the Rishimu that goes into the kav, and the Rishimu has the whole thing of the whole Ein Sof.
And also, like over here, he says, Aval hu ba me'erech ha'atzmi. That's from the Tvuna.
Huh?
Me'erech ha'atzmi.
No, not Eirech. Orcha.
Oh, me'ercha.
Orcha nire oir.
Right, okay.
Orcha ha'atzmi.
Yeah, I wasn't following that. Yeah, okay.
In other words...
Okay, but also mitzad that, this goes back to what you were saying before, is mitzad the Tvuna of the Eibishter. It's according to the Makabel. The Tvuna is according to the Makabel.
Yeah, but the Tvuna of the Eibishter is not according to the Makabel.
Well, the Tvuna itself isn't.
The Tvuna itself
is the Tvuna of the Eibishter.
Everything is in there.
Right.
Even though it's a Tvuna, and now he's going to put it into an explanation according to the Makabel.
But the Tvuna itself is the Eibishter's Tvuna.
As far as the Shefa itself, not only that, even in the later explanation, the explanation, which is only according to the Erech of the Makabel, comes mamish from the actual knowledge of the Mashpia.
Right.
Not only that, like we said in the 3,000 Mashalim of Shloimeh, the lower down it goes, the higher up it shows.
Right.
The fact that he can bring it lower down shows, especially in the Tvuna.
And not only that, but the more etzem there is there.
The thing of the Tvuna, basically, that's the thing why the Tvuna is the Lang and Nun.
Right.
That, like when they teach little kids how to write, in Hebrew, did you ever see the Hebrew Machberos?
Yeah.
It's not like the English ones. In the English ones, there's just a bunch of lines. In the Hebrew ones, there's a line with spaces on top and on the bottom. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. It's not a line and then the next line. Each line has a space on the top and the bottom where you put on top, the lamed goes up, past the line. The nun goes down past the line.
Right.
It goes, in other words, it goes past its own place into the next level.
Right.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing of Tvuna. Like we said, the whole thing of Tvuna, that the Ish Tvuna can dafka bring it down to the sheep. Means not to his level, but to the lower level. And that shows even more on what a great Ish Tvuna he is than the actual Bina itself.
That itself is what makes him an Ish Tvuna.
That's what makes him Ish Tvuna, right. That means the lower down it goes, the higher up he is.
Right.
So, in terms of the kav, the fact that the kav can go down can actually shows that really it's really the whole koyach of the Orein Seif. And that's the whole thing of the explanation. The fact that the explanation, even though the explanation is a lesser thing than the way he understands it himself, but nonetheless, it is an actual light that comes from his own inner light. So therefore, the light that comes into the kav is mamish the power of the original light, and it doesn't need to be mitzumtzum. It can stop being mitzumtzum and become the whole original light. Not only that, it's not really a tzimtzum. That's the whole kavanah. The whole kavanah in the kav is not to bring a mitzumtzum light down, like the muscle of the Rebbe with a student. The intention is not just to explain a little tiny explanation to the student. The intention is that by the end of all the explanations,
he gets the whole thing.
Not just he gets the whole thing. He'll be a Rebbe himself.
Right.
Not just the explanations, and finally he'll understand the same like the Rebbe. He will be a Rebbe.
Right.
He himself will be a Rebbe just like the Rebbe. So it really is going to pass over the whole Atmos. So therefore it means that the whole etzem is in there. בבחינת מעלה מטה על קופן כמו שבוע בית חיים ומזה הטעם יובן תירוץ על בית עניון יהפוך שנמצא בקו זה. The two opposites was in the קו. האחד אשר בכך דווקא על הכלל השמאלה בימינה חולו שהוא בחינת התקלות וייחודים של כל הארץ המסתעפים מכסד האק עד בחינת מלכוס עד צילוס עד שעל יודיו דווקא יוחלף האור בכלי שאינו שלי. The dafka from the kav is the power of all the unifications. Moira chesed b'kli agvura uluk this will be explained later. I think it's chapter 21 or 22 or something like that.
Because it's from the Atzmus, that's why there's a Iskalus.
Because in the Atzmus is all one.
Right, and that's why in the Kav there can be a Iskalus.
Right. That's why the Kav can really include everything together, because it is really has the power of the Etzem Orein Seif, where it things are totally non-differentiated. That, and this is where he says, basically, that we said it on the Eibusher, Agadol Chesed is the Orein Seif, Agibor is the Tzimtzum, V'Hanoira is the Kav. That's the Kav, V'Hanoira. The V'Hanoira is the Kav. What means kav hamida? That it measures. Measures means that each one is different. Limdot kol oiris v'kelim, and that's what makes it. This one is chokhmah and this one is bina. It's two different things. By measuring that, what is the measurement of each thing? And that's the thing. Hainu hach. That the power to divide is the power to connect. It's the same power, mamish, and it includes both powers in it. The canal binyan akav shnikra amas habinyan cholu shezeu hipuchait kalut l'ka'ira. That's the opposite. To measure means this one is this and this one is that. But the measurement, like the right and the left, in the middle it says chad arich v'chad ksir v'chad binuni.
Right.
It measures that the long one and the short one, the right and the left. Really, they're both true. It has both powers. Vadraba, not only that, just the opposite. Ha b'ha talya. One is connected to the other because he has the power to separate. That's why he has the power to connect. And because he has the power to connect, he has the power to separate. Like on the border, the guy who has the power to keep you out, that's the same guy that has the power to let you through.
Right.
That's the guy. And it's really the power of the king.
Right.
And the same thing like in a prison. The guy who has the power to put you in there, that's the guy who has the power to take you out of there.
Right.
So, like, for instance, if you go to the guard and say, let me out. Hey, you're the guard, let me out. He says, I don't have the power to let you out. If you want to be let out, you got to go back to whoever put you in here, the judge.
Right.
He's got the power, and really even the judge doesn't have the power because the judge can only go by the law. If you go to the judge, he says, well, I can't let you out. So what do you mean? You put me in here. The judge will tell, really, I didn't put you in here. I just do my job the same like the guard. And I had to put you in there because you broke the law, and the law tells me that whoever breaks the law has to go in for a certain amount of time, and that's what I did. I just followed the law. So you have to go to the king. He made the law to put you in, so he can pardon you even against the law. Huh?
Yeah, he can pardon you.
He can pardon you means pardon means against the law.
Right.
Because he made the law in the first place. And he can pardon you. The judge says, I can't pardon you. I can only go according to the law. I don't really have the actual power to put you in there. I can't put you in there. I didn't put you in there. The law put you in there. I'm just a guy who decides according to the law.
Right.
If you want, you have to go to the originator of the law. The guy who puts you in there, that's the guy who can take you out of there. So it's the same power, mamish. The power to divide and the power to connect. That's the guy who can divide. That's the guy who can connect.
Right.
Abba Hatalia, Mishum de Sheira Zeaka, Mikoach Harish Nasmis Oren Social if not Simsam Huba. Canal, Binyan Boyer Khadaf Kaniri Oyer. De Kavze. Ubekoyach, Era Asmus the Ein Safe. Vada Yesh Lasses Pinis Kalos, Yehudim shall call Apochem, Bekol Hishtalshelut Merosh de Akholo. And the power of the Ein Sof is certainly there's the power to make all the Yehudim and all the Hishtalshelut, because in the Orein Sof they're all one. Ad Malchus Datzilus. Kamaimer and who the Miyached line or Makasha line. You're the one that makes that unifies and ties them together. And who Melgav and Melbar. You're from the inside and you're from the outside. Hulu. The Ken Inyam Shema Melgav the Ura Kolatzilus, the thing of the Shema on the inside, which is the way of the Holatzilus.
What's that mean?
The Shema is basically, that's the union of the line. The Shema, like we said before, the Apsag Ma Ban. Ma is the Vav.
Right.
Right.
Ma is the Vav, which in general is the union of Zer Anpin and the Midos of coming down. And that's the Midos means the Kavamida, that it measures it. That's the measurement. It comes from the Rishimu is the Sag. And then it comes down, the line is the Shema basically, which is the Eirach Cholatzilus, which is the length, not the length, the Eirach is a path.
Right.
A pathway. That's the pathway of the entire Atzilus. Means that the line comes down to the end of Atzilus. The light of the line comes down to the end of Atzilus. And that's Shema Milgav. Shema Milbar, that's another, a lower Shema. The inner Shema is this line. This line is called the Shema. In terms of like what he's talking about here, Ab Sag Ma Ban, And then he also says like I'm not exactly sure exactly how it works, but the basic thing is the yud that's at the head of the vav is not the upper yud. It's the yud at the end of the hay. Means at the end of the sag. From Malchus of Tvuna comes the midos. The midos come from Malchus of Tvuna.
Right.
You'll learn later on that the thing is even though like they come from Da'at, like Ava'em is Chochman Bina is called Ava'em Eloin, and Tvuna is called Imatata'a, because the actual coming out of the midos comes dafka from Tvuna, not from Bina.
Right.
The actual coming out comes from Tvuna, so that's really and it actually comes out from Malchus of Tvuna. So the basic thing is that the Kava Mida, that the Indian of the Mida and Midos means the same thing. Midos does not actually means emotions. Midos really means measurements.
Right.
And the measurements are the long, short, and medium.
Right.
And that's the 3 midos. Really, there's 3 midos. Not 7 midos. The 7 midos means there's the 3 midos. Then there's the 3 hitpaluses of the midos.
Right.
And then there's malchus, which is the extension of the midos to the outside. So there's Chagas, then there's Nehi. The Etzem HaMidos is Chagas.
Right.
And that's why later on, where you learn about the Vav, there's the big Vav and the little Vav and stuff like that,
Right.
And the basic thing is that over there they're called Yaakov and Yosef.
Right.
Yaakov is called Yaakov and Yisrael, and then there's Yosef. And the Zeranpin is sometimes called Yaakov and sometimes called Yosef. So when you're talking about Chagas, it's called Yaakov. And when you talk about Nehi, it's called Yosef.
Right.
Yosef is Sadik Yesoid Oilam, and Yaakov is Midas HaEmes, Tiferes.
Right.
So when Zoh is referred to in the Indian of Chagas, it's called Yaakov, and when it's referred to in the Indian of Nehi, it's called Yosef.
Right.
Also sometimes it's called Neyach, too, when it's the Chitzonius of it.
Right.
Chitzonius Nehi is called Neyach. But the basic thing is the Midah. That's what they call Midos. It's a measurement. And that's what a characteristic means. They're called emotions. They really should be called characteristics.
Right.
Not really emotions. The actual midah is not the emotion. The emotion comes out of the characteristic, but the real thing is it's not talking about what's his midos does not mean that what actual emotion he's having now. It means what is his characteristic.
Right.
In other words, where a person who is a midah of chesed or a person who's a midah of gevura, like ka'asan, doesn't mean that right now he's angry. It means he has a characteristic that he tends to get angry.
Right.
Or like a chasdan doesn't mean that he's right now doing a chesed. It means he has a characteristic of being a kind guy.
Right.
Yeah, hold on for a minute. Gav means the inner shema, which refers to the line, basically, which means the kav hamida, which means the line that measures.
Right.
So, in other words, that's the inner shema. The outer shema is the midos of Atzilus, and this is the way of the whole Atzilus. Means that the whole measurement that later on will be in Atzilus of the shema of Atzilus. Shema Melbar comes from the Shema Melgav. It's already included in the inner Shema of the Kav. And if you take this in terms of the mashal of the hiyuli for measurement in the teacher, it means basically that all the characteristics that he will display in the actual day-to-day teaching, the seven days of the week,
right,
the Mois Eilam, is already included in this Kavamida.
right,
In other words, the whole way that he's going to act is already there.
right,
You know,
right,
it's all already there, and he'll act a different way for different classes. And not only that, it's like he measures, like for instance, for the if you give him a boys' class or a girls' class, let's say.
right,
You know, in a boys' class, you have to have a little bit more discipline.
right,
You know, like what is it? Daber Bnei Israel and Emor.
right,
To the ladies, Moshe Debesha told them that to the men you have to talk tough.
right,
To the ladies you have to talk in a nice way.
right,
You know, and also like if he'll go, for instance, if you tell the guy, we're going to put you in a class with the top students in the country, these are the special geniuses, people who are totally motivated.
right,
Or else you tell them we're going to put you in the worst ghetto school there is.
and he's going to relate to them differently.
They come there with guns. You know, all the little 5-year-old kids are already carrying guns, you know.
Right,
So, obviously, he'll have to manifest different midos.
right,
But it's all included in the Shema Mogav.
right,
It's already included in there. It's not that it's not already there. It's all in the Kavamida, and this is what's going to measure it.
right,
It's the Kavamida which will measure, according to different Mekablim, what midos will be manifested and what kind of a character he's going to put forth.
And the reason that it's capable of doing that is dafka mitzad the koyach ha'atzmus. That it's capable of relating to each specific makabel specifically.
Well, it's from two things. One is from the koyach ha'atzmus. The other one is actually really the Indian of the midah is dafka from the power of the tzimtzum and rishimu. That it can separate out a different thing for different people. Which is the opposite of his kalvus.
right,
You know. But it includes both of them. And that's also the Indian of Shema, that the Shema in general is the Indian of their Anpin or Tiferes that includes the two sides. So up there's also like that. There's Hagadol, Hagiber, Vehanoira. Vehanoira means that the line, the kav is an equal force. In other words, it seems that it's like not the same. Like first, that the Orein Saif that's the real big force. Then after the Tzimtzum, there's nothing left but a Rishimu, which is like a lesser thing somehow. And then the kav is only what comes out, and the Rishimu is its hiyuli. So the kav is mamish and nothing, because it comes out in a limited way. And so the kav is like nothing compared to the original infinite light. So what he's basically saying here, it's not like that. Sagodla Gibav Noira is three...
it's right, left, and middle.
Right, left, and middle, and there's three people from the same level. Not only that, Yaakov is a Mufhash Ba'abas, because he includes he includes both of them.
Right.
It's Dafka Yaakov that includes it. So, in other words, that the Kav has both powers in it.
Right.
And it's the Breach HaTichen.
In other words, the Kav can be mitzamtzim all the way down to the level of the Rishimu, if he needs to, where he won't teach the class anything at all. And he'll make them all write lines or sit in the corner. Or even like he can put a kid outside of the class. That means he's not teaching him at all. It's a total symptom.
Right.
Or he's not teaching him. And if he wants to, like, in other words, if he has an equivalent person to him, he can really teach him the whole entire thing.
Right.
Not just a Kav Mitzumtzum. The Kav can actually expand to the whole original thing. The Kav can be the whole infinite light.
Right.
So that's the thing of Ve'Hanaira, meaning that really the Kav is Tiferes of the Orein Seif.
Right. It's what balances the other two.
Not only that, it's really not just Tiferes of the Orein Seif, it's Tiferes of the Ma'or. In other words, that the, that the infinite light is not Tiferes of the Orein Seif. Orein Seif is Chesed of whatever.
Right.
Of a higher thing. Orein Seif in this system over here is he's calling a Gadol.
Right.
And the Tzimtzum Rishimu is calling a Gibor.
Right.
And the Kav is calling V'Hanaira.
Right.
And who is this? Hakel, the Eibishter himself. Agadol Agir V'Hanaira means the line is mamish. It's not really the line, the Kav Amida. It's not the Kav Amida. It's the teacher himself.
Right.
It's not a thing is the actual Kav Amida. And you'll take this Kav Amida and it's not the Kav Amida. It's the teacher.
Right.
The thing of the original thing, it's the teacher that knows the original thing. And that he's mitzamtzim the whole thing, he's mitzamtzim it. This thing that we say that's the tzimtzum and rishimu, that just means a power. That's just a description of something that the teacher himself did.
Right.
There's no such thing like, that like the power of movement. In other words, the thing that a cat can run is because he has the body of a cat. If you destroy the body of the cat, he can't run. There is no power of movement other than his body. It's not like a separate, like a power of movement. Well, we killed the cat, but here's his power of movement.
Right.
There ain't no power of movement. The power of movement really means that he can move.
Right.
Without the cat, there's no power of movement. And by the way, this is also what we were talking about before. It's a very big mistake that people make in terms of separating these things into things, like the thing that the Rishimu is a thing, and the Kav is a thing. There's this thing and there's that thing.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. That's not what it means. And that's what the whole thing, what he was talking about in chapter 4, that when you learn it properly, the pratim do not take away from the klal.
Right.
In other words, we're not really talking about the Kav over here at all.
Right.
We're not talking about Atzilus. We're not talking about the Orein Seif. We're not talking about the Yud of the Sag.
Talking about the Eibishter.
We're talking about the Eibishter.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. We are talking about the Eibishter. In other words, when we're talking about the Kav, we're talking that the Eibishter can measure the Makabel.
Right.
That's what we're really talking about. That's a thing that the Eibishter can do. And we're talking about the Or Ein Sof, is the Eibishter can be in infinite mode.
Right.
When we're talking about the Tzimtzum and Rishimu, we're talking is that the Eibishter can be in zero mode.
Right.
We're talking about the Kav, means that the Eibishter can be in any mode he wants to in between those two.
Right.
He can do anything he wants. If he wants, he can be infinite. And if he wants, he can be totally finite. Hold on for a minute. If he wants, he can be anywhere in the middle.
Right.
Okay.
We're on the bottom line.
Shem ma melgav de'u erachol atzilu chuluk ha'gavna. Hakol hu mitzad de'aretz hara atzmus de'ein sof shebekav zeh. Shahilech v'nimshach ad lemata v'malchus sof kol dargin. He's talking here about malchus v'atzilus. And also it could be talking about malchus v'asiyah. Be'iyana tenis dafka, this thing that he can spread downwards all the way to sof kol dargin, this is the same thing that gives it sheyesh b'koichel limdot minda v'gvul l'kol oirach v'keleh. L'kol yichud mashpil makabel kama yeh maduman. In other words, in terms of different classes, the influence from above and the influence from below, he measures it all. From that's the power of the Kabbalah. And both of these powers are included in the Kav. And these Oifnim Shoinim of the Tzimtzumim are already Meshur before the actual Tzimtzum. Like we say, but by the reaching for the vodka bottle or the cat jumping.
Right.
It's the hiyuli for all the unifications. It can make all the hakbolas and give a shir and midah to everything. Al derech oisa pchinas hashir harishon shenikla bershimuzo. And it can make the hakbolas according to the original shiur in the glif glifu, which was included in the Rishimu. Al derech marshal uman ha'isa reishim shemagbil ha'eifin shlasiyah. Shalamaisa, sorry. Shiakol medukta kmo shehuchlat hashir ba'atzmei. That he makes a blueprint. Shloyinta yamin ismail, that he'll not go right or left from the original plan, and yet he doesn't have to rethink the whole plan anymore. It's all written down. Different from the Kavamida. What does that mean? What does it mean? That sometimes it doesn't go according to the Kavamida. So what's the Kavamida? The Kavamida, according to the Kavamida, he made up a class plan. On Monday, we're going to learn chapter 1. And on Tuesday, we'll learn chapter 2. And on Wednesday, we'll learn chapter 3. Like that.
Right.
Right? But he can decide on Tuesday that instead of learning, let's say it's a science class, and we're supposed to learn chapter 3 today. He says to the class, today, instead of learning chapter 3, I'm going to take you to NASA.
Right.
And in NASA, they're going to see something that's way beyond the Kavamida plan of what they were supposed to learn.
Right.
In other words, what they're going to see has no shaykhus at all to their level.
Right.
There's no shaykhus to their level. Because they don't understand what's going on over there. Or he's going to take them to the a museum of science or something like that, you know?
Right.
Okay, so this is not according to the plan. So what happened to the Kavah Midah? Says, well, the teacher can do anything he wants. Says, but wait a minute, but there was a plan to do something here. Well, so why did he break the Kavah Midah over here? Says, well, because when the kids go and see NASA, and they'll see something that's way beyond the plan, means that they'll see something not according to their erech that they can understand, but they'll see according to something which they can't understand.
Right.
Which is like, in other words, way beyond their capacity. This will give them a taste for this, that they'll want to become scientists.
Right.
And really, that's part of the plan.
So it seems to be part of the Kavah Midah, if it's part of the plan.
No, it's not part of the Kavah Midah. The Kavah Midah was that today we were supposed to... And not only that, it's not according to the erech. It's not according to the erech at all. Let's go the other way.
That's like something like a nace?
Let's go to the side of Gvura.
Is that something like a nace? What you just said, that's something like a nace. That's like, let's say, a nace over here.
Yeah, a nace.
Like
breaks,
or something like that.
A nace doesn't go according to the...
It's not according to the makim and the midah of the place.
It's not according to the makim and the midah of the place, and it's not according to what's supposed to happen. It's not according to the plan of creation. It goes outside of nature.
Right, okay, well, that's what's the positive side. What about the negative
side? The negative side is that today they were bad. Now, we were supposed to do Chapter 4, and instead of doing Chapter 4, everybody's just going to sit there and do nothing. You just have to sit there and shut up. So what's going on? You're not teaching them nothing.
Right.
So this wasn't the plan. It's a breaking of the plan.
Right.
So the plan, not only that, he gave out the curriculum at the beginning of the thing. Today, on Wednesday, we're supposed to study Chapter 4. It says right there. That was his plan. He made a plan.
Right. It's in the blueprint.
On Tuesday, we were supposed to study Chapter 3, and instead we went to NASA. And on Wednesday, we were supposed to study Chapter 4. Instead, we're doing nothing.
Right.
Or writing lines or something like that, which is really not productive according to the plan of learning. We're not learning what we're supposed to be learning. So what's going on here? So what? Because that's their punishment.
Right.
And the punishment is part of getting them to behave properly so that they'll study good.
Right.
So who is doing this?
The teacher.
The teacher's doing it. It means the teacher made the plan, and the teacher can break the plan. He doesn't have to go according to the plan. He can put a light into the plan that's way too big for what was supposed to be there. That's a sefes or banetzolim. Yeser mikvi maimer kavamida. Hayne mikach or atmos davka. Lifam yarkach, lifam yarkach.
Right.
וזה הטעם, כל בחינת התחשבות or babia, הכל מעצמוס or insef shlifnat symptom davka. The Eibishter himself is doing it. דהיינו, בני שבארה עצמי נראה or bekavze. לפעמים בתוספת, לפעמים בגירעון. Sometimes it's less than what you're supposed to get.
Right.
וכן, בשינוי הייחודים של כל פרצוף מאק עד עקב דאק בסוף העשייה, כמו השינוי מזמן בית המקדש לזמן הגולוס וקאי גבנה, really how things are now, it's not really according to plan.
Right.
According to plan, a person is supposed to be able to get a Jewish education. People are actually not able to get a Jewish education even if they wanted to.
Right.
And it's not available to them. What's going on? I mean, you want people to be religious, so why are you making a golus like this?
Right.
And this is the same kind of thing. I mean, if you want to teach these kids, why are you making them sit there for the whole day with doing nothing?
Right.
And just suffering. That's what I want them. I want them to suffer. Because they were bad boys. So I want them to suffer so that next time they won't do it no more. But it's not really according to Kava Midah. According to Kava Midah, if everybody would have been would have cooperated properly, it didn't have to be like this. It could have gone according to a plan. But because they didn't, so you have to make an extreme thing to one side. Hold on for a minute. Extreme thing to one side. Sometimes you can make an extreme thing to one side in order to give them an extra, like for instance in Matan Torah. You didn't have to have all that hullabaloo in Matan Torah.
Right.
You just could have had a quiet thing. Moshe could have gone off somewhere, Like it didn't have to be in front of 2 million people. It could have been. It could have been like what most of the religions claim, that some guy went to the desert and he got this thing. As a matter of fact, why didn't he just give it to him by the sneh? And Moshe would have gone to Egypt. He could have had the written. He could have come there with a Chumash and a Talmud and the whole bit.
Right.
In his hand and say, I talked to the Eibishter in the desert. He talked to the Eibishter, by the way, on Mount Sinai.
Right.
He told him, you're going to come back here.
Right.
That's he asked, what's going on? He said, you're going to come back here with all the people, and then I'm going to give you the Torah.
Right.
So, and even when he gave him the Torah, it didn't have to be done with all that
Fireworks.
noise, all the fireworks, right? Why did you make it with all the fireworks? Because he wanted to impress them. Like when you take the kids to NASA.
Right, and the whole Yitzias Mitzrayim and everything up till then.
Okay, but it's not just that. The Matan Torah was not from the Kava Midah.
Right. Neither was the Kriyas Yamsuf.
The whole world was shaking. You know what I mean? The whole world was shaking.
Also by Kriyas Yamsuf. It didn't have to be like that.
Yeah, he could have just killed the Egyptians. They could have just dropped dead of a heart attack.
Right, or just a natural, like a fire, just burned down all the pyramids or something.
Okay, I mean, one of the things it says that it's Dafka because he wanted to do it with water.
What does their Eibishter was the news.
But he could have done it another way where he didn't have to make it, but especially by Matan Torah, I mean, the whole world was shaking. I mean, everything was shaking with angels flying around. What's going on here? That's not the natural order of things.
Right.
Kava Midah means that it goes naturally according to the measurements. This is what was supposed to happen over here, and that's what's happening.
Right.
Why do you have all of that? Like he said to Moshe, in order that they should believe in you.
Right.
It's being done to impress them. And then, when you impress them like that, so then they'll keep the Torah properly. זמן הגול כהגדנו, דרך כלל הרי אנו אמר מאיר עצם מפניך, מותנה עצמוז חממש, למעלה מיוסרס העצמים גם כן, לשונס הרוצן הפשוט, שכבר נמשך בעצמוס הארד אין סוף, לא בשיר ששיר בעצמי, עד סיום הקו באופן אחר. We're telling him, we want you to change the actual rotzen that made the gleef gleeful. We want you to change the whole plan. Midin l'chesed k'hagam nekanal v'sof ha'yitzei b'inyan ha'yavai lo shanisi ben rosem l'chesed l'din v'ar ha'rishon shalifna tzimtzum mital nal b'ad yud. That it's really only the tzimtzum that changes. B'inyan chofetz chesed sheba'atzmus ha'yuli shenikol ba'atzmus chulu sheyesh bo gimel madregas ad sheba b'dover prat v'var barichus b'ad yud aleph means that we want him to change all the way to the beginning of Yachid, so that when it goes to Yachid, Echad, and Kadmon, and finally to the Glif, Glifu, and Malchus of Kadmon, and the Shiur. So the Shiur should be different, and therefore what will go into Rishima will be different, and therefore what goes into Kav will be different.
Right.
That's what we're asking. You read something from Nechem Mamish, to change the whole original Ratzah.
By the way, I think that's supposed to be B'soif Ois HaChes. It doesn't say that over here, but it doesn't talk about Nice Hey, the Inyan of Aniyah Vailish Anisi.
It could be. It could be. Yeah, the Inyan of Aniyah Vailish Anisi is really...
Ches and Tes.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Amro Ella V'lo L'Midaisa Medaber Gam Midas Atzmiyim means even higher than Midas Atzmiyim Shur Erin Seif and Nesha Atzmiyim Erin Seif Lo Mikol Midas Klal means he can change all the Midas. Chulu V'Dalam Maven. V'Zeo, this is what it means. Antad Miyachad Loin Chulu Ant Dafka. That means Dafka you. It's not these. They're not really different things. And the only reason you see it as different things is because you're forgetting about the you.
Right.
When you're serious, really it's the Eibishter is there. You're really not dealing with the Midas Hadin. You're really dealing with the Eibishter.
Right.
It's really coming from the Asmas Erin Seif, really. Means it's the Eibishter himself is doing it. Moshe Vor Mokamach V'Ini Kol Chok Sh'B'Atzmus Erin Seif Shehu P'Chinas Koyach HaGvul L'Hagbiv L'Halem B'Atzmusay V'Ilui Achar Ilui Ad Ein Ket V'Shir Haynu Erin Seif L'Mala Ad Ein Ket. So now he's calling it backwards. Now he says Gvura is the light going up and up. That's the Inyan of the Erin Seif. And Chesed is Pinot Pashtus Mata Mata. It's calling the Erin Seif the Inyan of Gvura, and the Tzimtzum and Rishimu and the Kav is Dafka the Chesed.
Right.
Which is backwards from what we said before. Which the thing is, that's the thing in general that the Mashpia and the Makabel, when they face each other, the right of the Mashpia becomes the left of the Makabel and vice versa.
Right.
So the thing of in terms of the Mashpia, at Tzimtzum is the Gevura. That's the Tzimtzum. In terms of the Makabel now, the Lamaila Maila Aden Kates means we don't get it. The Inyan of the Erin Seif is by us a Gevura.
Right. And the Tzimtzum
and the Rishimu, that's the Chesed.
Right.
Because what's by him, the left side, the Tzimtzum, is by us the right side.
Right.
And that's what it means, like a gilui of a gilui, what he says later on is that's like the impression of the seal in the wax. So if you take a seal and you flip it, put it in the wax, it's flipped around.
Right.
And that's the Orshal Tilda.
These are two exact powers. The P'chinas Ein Sof, and they're both infinite. How can Gam be readers the Ein Sof because so it's in the way that the power of the light and the power of the Rishimu are equal, means that the Rishimu has the power to limit the entire light. And the light has the power to blot out the whole Rishimu, to fill out the whole hollow.
So I need to put in a new tape.
Yeah. A base Kav school in him, Bechinas Ein Sof, all can Gambiris are the Ein Sof Bekav, so in the Kav also it's like that. School and Beit Koichas Alalu. It has exactly the two powers to expand or to contract with Tzantzim L'Hagdol, Chaber Yachid are equal. The Inyan Shinui Orvam Shachim, but the seventh Begiroin, whether the power to increase the light or the power to decrease the light, K'mam Izman L'Zman, K'mam Mechol L'Shabbos V'Yenta, V'ken Izman Beis HaMikdash Zman HaGolus, HaKol B'Koyach Echad Shokol. It's really one power, Shenechlak L'Beis Kavin Chesed Gvura, that is divided into two powers. Abba Mikoyach V'Er Arishan the Atzmos Ein Sof, and they come not Atzmos or Ein Sof, Atzmos Ein Sof. How he is in himself, the Pchinat Chesed and Gvura, that the light and the Rishimu is the Chesed and Gvura of the Atzmos Ein Sof, and the line is the Tiferes, and you can say one way or the other which one is the Chesed and Gvura. The Dalam Maven. V'hainu Kemvura L'mayla B'Is Ayud Dalet. The Kav L'Gabe Shetach Hu Yuli Koilu Al derech Eisa Ever Koyach Asmish Ba'asmish L'Mashpia, that a line is a Hiyuli to a Shetach, Rak Sheba'atzmus Sheba'achavas Erech B'Yeser. In the Atzmus, in the Mashpia, the Archava is very wide. In the Mekablim, the way it goes is as the line goes down, it's narrower and narrower. In other words, when you teach college students, you give them much more of a shetach than what you give to little kids.
Right.
Right? And that shetach is also, the hiyuli for the shetach is from the kav also. But in the Atzmus is Ba'achovas Eser B'Yoser. There the Roichav is totally wide. The B'kav Zeh Ba'akoyach Zeh Atzmus, B'chinas HaTzimtzum Shefa V'Amshochel V'Mekablim Chulu. The Im Ken, Gam B'chinas Tzimtzum V'Tpashtus Shabai Misham Hu Ba Dafka V'Dalam Maven. So the Indian of the Tzimtzum and V'Tpashtus in B'kav comes from the Tzimtzum and V'Tpashtus before in the Atzmus. V'Dalam Maven. In other words, it's mamish all the way down here to where there's a total tzimtzum and a tiny, tiny little light, but this is mamish, the power of the Eibusher himself.
So what does it mean exactly, Misham Huba?
It comes from there. The power that is down here is mamish, the power from there. It's in other words, even the power in a kindergarten. In the kindergarten, you're still getting the whole power of the teacher.
Right.
Okay. Hold on. Yeah, I got to get going.